Hello, welcome back. This is chapter 5th, Indigo, written by Louis Fisher, and today I'm going to explain page number 46 to you. So here we go. When I first visited Gandhi in 1942 at his ashram in Sevagram in central India, he said, I will tell you how it happened that I decided to urge the departure of the British. It was in 1917. So, author Louis Fisher paid a visit to Gandhi in 1942. He came to see him at his ashram in Sevagram in central India, that was located in central India. And there he said, Gandhiji said, I will tell you. He wanted to know about how it all happened that he started, when he started, and how it all began in India, how it all take off in India. So he said, I'll tell you how it happened that I decided. He said that I will tell you how it happened that I decided to urge, to appeal the British to leave India. And it all happened in 1917. He said, this started in the year 1917, that he felt the urge, the need to ask the British that they should leave the country, they should go away. He had gone to the December 1916 annual convention of the Indian National Congress Party in Lucknow. So in 1916, in the month of December, he had gone to Lucknow to attend INC annual convention, annual meeting there. There were 2,301 delegates and many visitors, and there had come 2,301 delegates, representatives, or the leaders from different parts of the country, and there were many visitors as well. Some visitors had also come there. During the proceedings, Gandhi recounted, a peasant came up to me looking like any other peasant in India, poor and emaciated, and said, I am Rajkumar Shukla. I am from Champaran and I want you to come to my district. So he said there were 2,301 delegates, representatives, and some visitors, and many visitors there. And during the proceedings, during the proceeding, that is in the course of the meeting, one Rajkumar Shukla, a peasant, a farmer, had come up to him. He walked up to Gandhi and asked him to visit his district. He said he was Rajkumar, so he introduced himself to Gandhi and said he was a poor peasant, and told him to pay a visit to his district. This peasant was just like any other peasant, just like any other farmer in India, poor and emaciated, poor and thin. Gandhi had never heard of the place. It was in the foothills of the towering Himalayas near the kingdom of Nepal, and Gandhi had no idea of this place called Champaran. He had never heard such a name before. It was located or situated in the foothills, that is on the base of Himalaya mountain, the mountain of Himalaya, and that was near Nepal. That was on the border of Nepal. Under an ancient arrangement, Champaran peasants were sharecroppers. Rajkumar Shukla was one of them. And under an ancient arrangement, an old arrangement was there between the peasants and the landlords, and according to that very old agreement between the two parties, the peasants of Champaran were the sharecroppers. They were these sharecroppers, that is, they worked on the land, on the field of the landlords, and they had to give certain portion of their crop, certain amount of their crop to the landlords. Rajkumar Shukla was one of them. That is, they had to share their crops annually. Rajkumar Shukla was one of them, and he was one of those sharecroppers. He was illiterate but resolute. He was illiterate, he had no education, he didn't receive any education, but he was resolute, he was firm, he was dogged, he was determined. He had come to the Congress session to complain about the injustice of the landlord system in Bihar, and somebody had probably said, speak to Gandhi. He had come to the session of Congress in 1916 to complain about the injustice of the landlord system in Bihar, that is, the atrocities upon them. And somebody there at the meeting probably had suggested, probably had advised him to go to Gandhi and present his points. Gandhi told Shukla he had an appointment in Kanpur and was also committed to go to other parts of India. So here Gandhiji informed him. He came to Gandhi with his complaint, with his points, and asked him to come to his place, and Gandhiji here informed him of his commitments, of his schedule, and he also informed him that first he had to go to Kanpur. He had some fixed programs, so he would be going to Kanpur first, then he would be going to some other parts of the country, and so it becomes impossible right now to make an appointment to assure him that he would come to his place. Shukla accompanied him everywhere, and Gandhi returned to his ashram near Ahmedabad. Now, what he did, as Gandhiji informed him of his schedule, he did not leave his side, he did not lose sight of Gandhi. He followed him everywhere, all the places. And finally, after completing all the programs, completing the schedule and appointments, they returned to the ashram near Ahmedabad. Shukla followed him to the ashram too. For weeks, he never left Gandhi's side, and for weeks together, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, he continued to be with Gandhiji. He continued to accompany him, to move along with him, to stay with him wherever he went. Fix a date, he begged. And finally, when all the appointments were over, he asked him, he begged him, he pleaded him, please fix a date. Impressed by the sharecropper's tenacity and story, Gandhi said, I have to be in Calcutta on such and such a date. Come and meet me and take me from there. Now Gandhiji was impressed. He was impressed by this sharecroppers, this farmer's tenacity, his determination, his consistency, his firmness, his resolution. And also he heard of his stories of the peasants, their sufferings and all. And then finally Gandhiji committed. He said, I have to be in Calcutta on such and such a date, that I'll be there in Calcutta on such a date. So what you can do, come and meet me. That you can come there, come to Kolkata on such a date, meet me and take me from there, and take me from there where you want to take me. Months passed. Shukla was sitting on his haunches at the appointed spot in Calcutta when Gandhi arrived. He waited till Gandhi was free. Okay, so on the appointed date, Shukla was there present, and he was waiting for Gandhiji to arrive there. He waited till Gandhiji completed the meeting. The meeting was over. That is, he was present before the arrival of Gandhiji there in Calcutta. Then Gandhiji completed his meeting, after the meeting got over, he met him, and then both of them left. They left for Patna. They boarded a train. Then the two of them boarded a train for the city of Patna in Bihar, and then both of them boarded a train to Patna in Bihar. There Shukla led him to the house of a lawyer named Rajendra Prasad, who later became president of Congress Party and of India. Then from there, from Patna, he took him to the house of a lawyer named Rajendra Prasad. He was not that famous at that time, but then later he became the president of Congress and consequently the president of the country. Rajendra Prasad was out of town, but the servants knew Shukla as a poor yeoman who pestered their master to help the indigo sharecroppers. Okay, so reaching there, they found that Rajendra Prasad was outstation. He was not home. But the servants knew Rajkumar Shukla very well, because he used to come and meet their master, and he used to disturb their master with the appeal to fight their case, to fight the case of the sharecroppers. So they knew him very well. They knew him to be a peasant, poor peasant. So they let him stay on the grounds with his companion Gandhi, whom they took to be another peasant. So they allowed him to stay there, probably spend the night there, because they reached there, then maybe the same day they can move to the other place. They could not move out for the other place, so they were allowed to spend the night there. So they were asked to stay on the ground. That is, lay down, they could lie down there on the ground and um, and do all their activities there only. They were not given any room or any they were taken to some guest room there. They were allowed all the things. No, they're on the ground only. He was allowed, and his companion was allowed to stay and take rest and all. Gandhi, whom they took, even Gandhiji was made to sit on the ground and stay there. But because they believed him to be Rajkumar Sukla's companion, his friend, and so they allowed him there. But Gandhi was not permitted to draw water from the well, lest some drops from the bucket pollute the entire source. How did they know that he was an untouchable? Not is not correct. It should be struck off. But Gandhiji was not permitted. He was not allowed to draw water from the well. Well was there, water was there present, so they were allowed to take water from the well. But Gandhiji was not allowed to draw water because they had no knowledge of Gandhiji, or they didn't know whether he was untouchable or not. They knew very well about Sukla, so they allowed him to use the water from the well, but Gandhiji was not allowed. They thought that he was untouchable because this practice was in place during that time. The people used to say they used to treat people. They used to distinguish people, and they used to practice the system of untouchability. That is, people in society believe that a particular section was untouchable, and they were biased towards them, and they were not allowed to perform certain things. So, since they had no idea whether he was touchable or untouchable, so he was not allowed to draw water from there. Gandhi decided to go first to Muzaffarpur, which was en route to Champaran, to obtain more complete information about conditions than Shukla was capable of imparting. So, next day, for the next day, Gandhi made his planning. He decided to move to Muzaffarpur first because that was en route. That was on the way to Champaran. So he wanted to stay there, hold there, make his hold there, and he wanted to get some idea of the kind of suffering the peasants were going through. He wanted to get more detail of the sufferings of the people there, which possibly Rajkumar Sukla was not able to express, not able to impart Gandhi. That is, maybe some of the things were missed by Sukla, so he wanted to get complete information, complete idea of whatever was the condition of the peasants there. He accordingly sent a telegram to Professor J.B. Kriplani of Arts College in Muzaffarpur, whom he had seen at Tagore Santiniketan School. So from there he sent a letter to J.B. Kriplani, who was a professor at Arts College there in Muzaffarpur, whom he knew, whom he met there at Santiniketan, Tagore Santiniketan. So he knew him, he was acquainted with him, so he wrote a letter about his arrival. The train arrived at midnight, 15th April 1917. Kriplani was waiting at the station with a large body of students. So Gandhiji wrote a letter to J.B. Kriplani, and according to that according to that letter and the message given to him, Kriplani was ready at the station, Muzaffarpur station, with a large body of students, that is, with a crowd of students there. It was on 15th April 1917, and he was there. The train reached at midnight. So he reached there. Gandhi stayed there for 2 days in the home of Professor Malkani, a teacher in the government school, and from there he was taken to Professor Malkani's residence, and he stayed there for 2 days. That is, his stay at Muzaffarpur was for 2 days before he moved out to Champaran. It was an extraordinary thing in those days, Gandhi commented, for a government professor to harbor a man like me. So it was treated as extraordinary affair. That is, it could not be imagined, it could not be thought of that a teacher would host a politician or a revolutionary or someone who advocated for the rights of the common man, because that was treated as treason to the country, treason to the law. And so it could not be imagined that a government teacher would host, and that's why, probably for the same reason, Professor Kripalani did not take him to his own residence. Probably he was on the hot list of the government. In smaller localities, the Indians were afraid to show sympathy for advocates of home rule, and in smaller localities, smaller places, smaller towns, people were afraid. People were scared to show their sympathy, to come out open in support of these people who advocated for home rule, those who spoke of the home rule, that is self-governance. The news of Gandhiji's advent and of the nature of his mission spread quickly through Muzaffarpur and to Champaran. Now, Gandhiji's arrival and the kind of mission that he was carrying out, or say that he had started in the country, spread to all the nooks and corners of Muzaffarpur and its surrounding places, Champaran and all, and consequently, what happened consequently? Let's see. Sharecroppers from Champaran began arriving on foot and by conveyance to see their champion, and as a result, as the news spread of his arrival, people from all over the places, that is from Muzaffarpur, from Champaran, from all over the places, people started to arrive, people started to throng into the city of Muzaffarpur. They were coming on foot, they were coming by their conveyance. Those who were having their conveyance, they were coming by their conveyance. Others arrived there on foot. And they wanted. Why they came there was the reason. The reason was that they wanted to see the champions of their rights, the one who was there to fight, ready to fight for the rights for the common man there. Muzaffarpur lawyers called on Gandhi to brief him. They frequently represented peasant groups in court. They told him about their cases and reported the size of their fee. Now there, at Muzaffarpur, he was met by the lawyers. A lawyer's body came and they met him, or they briefed him of all the cases that they were fighting in the trial court, and they also informed him about the size of their fee, that is, the fee that they charged from the sharecroppers, because most of them were fighting the cases of the sharecroppers. Size of the fee means the amount of fee. Gandhi chided the lawyers for collecting big fee from the sharecroppers, and here Gandhiji was upset. He was unhappy with the treatment, or say he was unhappy with the way the lawyers treated the sharecroppers, because they were suffering, they had been suffering at the hands of the landlords, and here they were charging hefty fees, that is, huge amount of fee from them. So he chided, that is, he reprimanded, he scolded all the lawyers. I have come to the conclusion that we should stop going to law courts, he said. My conclusion is that we should stop going to the law court. Taking such cases to the courts does little good, and this kind of cases, fighting this kind of cases to a law court, does little good. Why? Because it takes a lot of time. The cases get extended too long. It continues for years together, and that causes a burden, heavy burden on the poor people, sharecroppers, and on the real relief for them is to be free from fear. And for them, he said, his suggestion was that the real relief for this sharecropper should be to be free from fear. Most of the arable land in the Champaran district was divided into large states owned by Englishmen and worked by Indian tenants. And the situation was that most of the arable land, that is, most of the cultivatable land in the district, was divided into large states. The entire arable land was divided into large states owned by Englishmen, and they were all owned by, that is, the owner of all the arable land there in Champaran, who were the Englishmen, and the workers on those states were the Indian tenants. They worked, they grew crop there for the Englishmen, and in lieu they had to give certain portion, certain amount as tax. So that was the situation. The landlords compelled, the chief commercial crop was indigo. The landlords compelled all tenants to plant 20th or 15% of their holdings with indigo and surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent. This was done by long-term contract. Okay, so chief commercial crop of that time was indigo. That is, indigo was the cash crop. The landlords compelled, they forced the tenants to plant indigo, that is on the 3/20th or 15% of their holding. with Indigo. That is, three 20th or 15% of the land had to be used for growing indigo. That was the compulsion from the side of the landlords, because that was the holding. That was officially their right. That is, 15% was theirs only, and that's why they forced them to grow a particular crop there only. With indigo, and surrender the entire harvest as rent, and surrender the entire 15% of that is the entire crop of that portion of land to the landlord. That is, they wanted that that one completely. This was done by long-term contract, and this was done by a long-term contract. That is, they had a contract between the two parties, landlords and the tenants, and according to that, 15% of the land produce had to be surrendered to the landlords, and they had to grow whatever they wanted, whatever the landlords wanted them to grow or wanted them to produce. Probably, if not that was the case, still they compelled them to produce indigo there. So presently, the landlord's land that Germany had developed synthetic indigo. So currently, the landlords had learned, they had received the information, the report, by which they came to know that Germany had developed the technology. They succeeded in developing the technology by which they could extract, they could have synthetic indigo. Say they could mechanically manufacture synthetic indigo. They thereupon obtain agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% arrangement. So now they realize that indigo plantation, indigo production, or say the indigo crop, had lost all its utility, had lost all its significance. So now they wanted the sharecrops to come under some agreement, to have some agreement done with the landlords. That is, they played a trick here. Since the sharecroppers had no idea of synthetic technology, so they were fooled by these landlords, saying that we are ready to release you from this age-old arrangement, but for this you need to compensate us. Simply, if you compensate us for the losses that we would incur as we release you from this 15% arrangement agreement, so if you compensate us, then we'll be happy to release you. We'll have no issue releasing you. That is making you free of this arrangement. The sharecropping arrangement was exam to the peasants, and many signed willingly. Since they proposed this, they made the proposal of releasing them of this bond, this arrangement. So many of the peasants who were frustrated with this, who found this irksome, who found this irritating, they willingly signed this agreement. Those who resisted engaged lawyers. The landlords hired thugs and those who resisted it, those who said no, we are not going to pay you for any loss that you will have as a result of releasing us from this arrangement, from this agreement, since we paid you enough in the past. So those who said in this way, those who raised their voice in this way, they had to hire the lawyers. And the landlords in such case hired the thugs, the middleman, say the middleman, or the cheaters or cheats, those who can cheat them, who can easily say dupe them and make them to sign this agreement. So they hired such thugs. Meanwhile, the information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants who had signed, and they wanted their money back. Now, in the meantime, while all these things were going on, the issue was still on. Say half of the peasants signed and half not. So while the issue was running this way, the information had reached the illiterate peasants about the synthetic indigo, and they realized that they had been cheated, they had been duped. So they wanted their money back. Those who had signed, they wanted their money back. At this point, Gandhi arrived in Champaran. At such a point, at such a situation, Gandhiji arrived in Champaran. He began by trying to get the facts first and visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association. Since he was a lawyer himself, so he knew all the system. He knew that going about a case without having the details, without going into the study, going into detail into the matter, was not a wise thing. So he first decided to get facts, and for this he visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association. The secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider. Gandhi answered that he was no outsider. Now, as he sought information from the secretary, British Landlords Association, he denied any kind of information and said they cannot provide any kind of information to an outsider. Since he was outsider, he was not from that village, that district, that province. So he said, we cannot provide an outsider any kind of information. And Gandhi said, no, I'm not an outsider. Next, Gandhi called on the British official commissioner of the Tirhut division, in which the Champaran district lay. So in the next part, he visited the British official commissioner of the Tirhut division, and that is, he went to the British commissioner of the Tirhut division. That is the British official in charge of the Tirhut division. So Gandhiji went to him and had a talk. He wanted to had a talk with him. So he went there, district, since Champaran was part of this division. So he went there and wanted to have a talk with the commissioner. The commissioner, Gandhi reports, proceeded to bully me and advised me forthwith to leave Tirhut. And as he approached him, he had all the information regarding Gandhiji, that such and such a man is here who is say encouraging people to not pay their taxes and all. So he had all the information, or say an outsider is here who wants to get information about the land deeds and all. So he had this information, and so he said he just resorted. As Gandhiji approached him, he proceeded to bully. That is, using slangs and showing his high-handedness. So all this thing happened, and also advised him to leave Tirhut forthwith, right there, right away. Gandhi did not leave, but Gandhi did not leave. Gandhiji continued to stay there. He didn't leave. Instead, he proceeded to Motihari, the capital of Champaran, and on the contrary, he moved to the capital of Champaran, that is Motihari. At that time, several lawyers accompanied him, and lawyers too accompanied him. That is, lawyers gave him company. They too moved to Champaran. At the railway station, a vast multitude greeted Gandhi. At the station, there was a huge crowd to greet Gandhiji because he was there for the cause of the poor peasants. He went to a house and, using it as headquarters, continued his investigation. So he moved to a house there in in Motihari, and made that house his headquarters and had all his operations from there, from that place. A report came in that a report came in that a peasant had been maltreated in a nearby village. So a report came. He was there, and there came a report to him that a poor peasant, had been maltreated, badly treated in the nearby village. Gandhi decided to go and see. The next morning, he started out on the back of an elephant. So he decided to see that poor peasant, and the next morning, early on only, he just proceeded to the village on elephant back, not horseback, but elephant back. He had not proceeded far when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return to town, and he had hardly moved out of the area, or hardly moved a few hundred meters, when the commissioner's messenger came. He overtook him and ordered him to go back, return to town in his carriage. He ordered, or say he asked him to return to the town in his